Where did that name come from, Ali?
It came from maybe a couple of pints of Guinness in a pub, but while thinking about a name for for quite a few weeks, and I don't know, the name just felt right. It just I don't know, called out to me, and everybody seemed to accept it. So I guess ultimately Nigel's plan for the team, was to create a bike for Nukeproof that could win a World Cup. That was the long-term goal. I think that we were all heavily invested in, and I guess with the creation of the Scalp, we had that goal in mind. And as we refined and evolved that design right through to today, the goal has always been to win World Cups and then to essentially offer that bike to everybody.
Yeah, ultimately the 2016 Pulse.
Yeah.
Ali, talk us through the angles on that. I mean,
62 head angle, 440 chainstay,
So
1232 wheelbase, and 425 rating. Let's talk about, say, the medium size, because the team is riding medium bikes, right?
They're all mediums, our benchmark for the majority of the team. Nigel's on the medium and all those guys, so that's kind of our benchmark that we would work from most of the time.
And these will be production numbers, right?
That's close to, yeah. I don't see them changing now. The bigger, as I said at the start, it's an evolution of the original Scalp. So this bike, we haven't changed too much. We've just listened to the feedback from the team. So the head angle's a degree slacker, where it's 62 degrees. Yeah. The reach figure has grown ever so slightly up to 425. And then obviously we've adapted the bottom bracket height to cater for the bigger wheels. We were with Sam's bike last year. We were trying to make the best of a bike that wasn't initially designed for bigger wheels. So we've been able to make quite a few nice changes to the new bike to cater for that, and shorten the chainstay and at the same time down to 440.
Tell me why you've gone for a 62 degree head angle.
So the guys have been running the original Pulse is 63, and I think pretty much all of last year and maybe the tail end of the year before, the guys were running an angle adjust headset in there to slacken it out by a degree. And I think with the new bike, when we did initial testing with Sam and the rest of the team, they sort of noticed there's a fairly significant weight reduction in the new bike, and they just felt like they needed a little bit extra stability, because the bike wasn't riding quite as planted as the previous bike with the extra weight it would have been carrying. There's over £2 saved out of the frame. I think that medium large Scalp that we made for the team is the geometry that we've always been trying to achieve, and I think that came heavily from Nigel's input, and I think that's where we're at now. And I think as speeds increase and everything increases, we're just I think it's suitable to grow ever so slightly. I don't think the boys aren't complaining that the bike's too long. I think they're still happy with the feel of it, and I think it needs to be that size for the general. And in addition, we will add 4 sizes of bike, because it's I think with a downhill bike specifically, it's very difficult to cover a wide range of rider sizes and shapes as well. So
I think what the difference that Ali and his team have over me is, when I first did the sizes and dimensions for the first Scalp, which is very close to what we've got now with the new Pulse, is I was trying to make a bike that was absolutely ideal for a rider my sort of size, which most of the team are. I didn't look at what every other manufacturer had or what was a safe number.
I think the bike we have out there, I don't think we want it necessarily any lighter. We like the performance we get. The guys like the feel, the compliance, there's not really a whole lot we feel we want to change immediately about that bike. I think we set out with a goal to achieve a certain weight and a certain feel from the bike, and I think we're all pretty happy so far with how that's turned out. Should it be carbon? Should it be alloy? You gotta bear in mind, people they've got to pay money for these things, and when you start to go down a certain road, the price just goes through the roof. And I think we can offer a components package and a frame that essentially is going to be capable of winning World Cups.
That was the original. That was the original plan when I first spoke to Michael about the brand. I said to him, which we've stuck with it, I want the bike to be able to win World Cups and look good and stuff, but not be like the most expensive bike out there, so that any weekend warrior can afford to buy one of those bikes.
It looks nice too, doesn't it?
I think it looks nice, yeah. It's essentially first World Cup out and you got a top 3. It's a pretty, that's down to the rider, but I guess it's no harm to the bike essentially as well. So
feedback I get from the lads is the most positive we've ever had on a bike. You know, none of them have said, oh, you could do with this or we could do with changing that. You know, they're all super stoked on the bike, and I think that came across well at the first World Cup. You know, with Mikey getting third.